This episode of Men of Prestige, you're asking questions, hard questions. What role did I play? Right? It could be as simple as passive aggression. It could be as you were simping way too much, right? But identify what that is. Simping means you are expecting, giving with expectations. That's simping, okay? Listen, we all have expectations. What I'm saying is to manage your expectations precisely. Managing it, right? Listen, it's always nice that your partner validates you for all of us, okay? But again, when you're gung-ho, stuck on complaining about you not getting reciprocation, you will suffer, okay? You will suffer even though you're right, okay? You could be right all you want, but you will suffer, okay? Because this is another human being. Remember, they are seeing things from different lens, and you're not. Do this if you're not happy in a relationship, okay? So I'm going to share some few things that I think you should do if you're not happy in a relationship. Relationships are tough for a reason, because they can be highly rewarding, okay? Our growth, a lot of the growth you're going to experience, I'll speak for me, the most impactful growth I experienced in my life came from relationships, came from marriage, came from some testing times in marriage, crisis, conflict. That's where some of the most impactful growth I've experienced that actually spread to other areas of my life, that's where they came from, okay? So avoiding relationships or avoiding marriage, that's not going to help you. That's only going to make matters worse for you, because with one exception, if you go build a cave somewhere in the middle of a jungle and live there by yourself, okay, if you can do that, sure, good. But if you're avoiding marriage and relationship because you think somehow your life is going to be simpler or better than and you have your upper hand, you're lying to yourself, okay? What's going to happen is that winter is going to come and you're going to be lonely, and you're just going to get angrier and angrier, and eventually you're going to resent yourself because of all of this time that has passed, and you were busy bitching about life. Right? All right. So yeah, it is what it is. That's what a lot of young men are doing these days. They are bitching and complaining and about life, just life being what it is, right? Your most impactful growth is going to come from another human being that you allowed into your soul, testing you. That's what builds you as a man, not the other way around. Not avoiding life. Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you, number one, is to focus on what you can control. Okay, focus on what you can control. You're not happy in a relationship. There's a good chance that you're too focused on things you can't control. You're trying to control another human being. You may not realize it. That's the point. You're not supposed to realize it. You're supposed to realize it after I've pointed it out to you. You can now look in the mirror and say, hey, good question. Maybe I've been controlling and not realize I was controlling. Yes, that happens to the best of us, right? When you're arguing and you're competing with each other and stuff like that, or you want them to see things, you want them to see things from your point of view all the time, right? My point is, I want to make sure there's no earpiece in my ear. If you're doing things like that, you're actively trying to control situations you can't control, especially another human being, another adult, right? So focus on what you can control. What is that? It starts from self, right? Number two, identify the issues. Okay, identify the issues. Like you're probably wasting a lot of energy worrying about the persons, right? So even yourself, even though I just said look in the mirror and assess things from that standpoint, I don't want you to play the guilt game either. I don't want you to be a simp. I don't want you to blame yourself for everything that happened in that relationship. That doesn't work either. Okay, that's gonna make you even resent more. You resent yourself, and you will reflect it and project it on the other person still, right? So it's like you're just going in circles. So blame, guilt, judgment, condemnations will not work. They will work against you 100% of the time. Instead, focus on the issues. What is the issue? It's very hard to identify the issue. What happened here? Where is the disagreement coming from? What that helps you do is that you look at things from all ends, not just the two perspectives or the two people, But you can now calm down and say, oh yeah, the text message could have been read this way, they interpreted it this way, things like that. Those kind of like 200 questions can come to mind when you calm down like that. And by the time you get to the third of 200 questions, things are calmer. Not only that, they're looking at you as a different person, they see you as a matured person, which can be an extremely sexy thing, right? So identify the issues, focus on the issues. Focusing on the issues doesn't mean, like, if you keep arguing with the person and you tell them to focus on the issue, you miss the point. Again, you're still trying to control another person. That's always going to backfire. Number 3, identify and isolate the most present issues. So you have a few issues you've identified, right? You can't handle a bunch of issues at the same time. By the way, the feminine energy, when it doesn't have a proper masculine structure around it, will attempt to solve multiple problems at the same time. You as the masculine frame, is your job to calm down, listen actively, and isolate the issues. Find out what the most pressing issue is, right? Find out what that is, and then lean in and see how you can mitigate that. By doing so, probably 85 to 90% of the issues already solved. But again, number 3, identify and isolate the most present issue. 4, identify the role you're playing to attract the issue. Okay, so this is not guilt. Okay, this is not guilt. This is not self-guilt. This is just saying, hey, what role did I play in it? Like, this is hard to do because the natural thing that we all do in a relationship, we point fingers, right? It must be something else's fault or someone else's fault, right? And then in the same breath, we expect them to kind of like want to come closer, right? And then we're actively arguing again. We're butting heads, right? Because we're pointing fingers. Okay, so in this time around, you're not pointing fingers at yourself. You're looking at the issue. You're asking questions, hard questions. What role did I play, right? It could be as simple as passive aggression. It could be as you were simping way too much, right? But identify what that is. Simping means you are giving with expectations. That's simping, okay? Listen, we all have expectations. What I'm saying is to manage your expectations, precisely. Managing it, right? Listen, it's always nice that your partner validates you, for all of us, okay? But again, when you're gung-ho, stuck on complaining about you not getting reciprocation, you will suffer, okay? You will suffer even though you're right. Okay, you could be right all you want, but you will suffer. Okay, because this is another human being. Remember, they are seeing things from a different lens, and you're not calming down to find out what they could be seeing, right? So definitely, you want to identify how you may have been attracting the situation. Number 5, switch things up. Okay, this is about attraction. Okay, if you know that you've been moving a certain way, maybe you are too nice or you're readily available, you're always like, okay, babe, I apologize. If you're always doing that, switch things up. Switch it up completely. So you need to throw some pattern interruption there. That will help you increase attraction. Attraction goes in the direction of indifference. Okay, if you're indifferent, like they're not sure what you're up to, that's when attraction grows. But if you're talking so much, you're too loud and you're too predictable, attraction goes down, right? So add some indifference into the situation, switch things up, and let them wonder what you're up to. Okay, let them wonder. So if you are always the person who was too aggressive and you're like, you're always holding her responsible, always holding her accountable, calm down with that too. Switch things up. Be nice for once, right? The idea is to switch things up. Don't be so predictable. Don't be so predictable.